Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 10 and the final part of What If Naruto Was the Black Dragon of Apocalypse in Fairy Tail. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content, and also go and support the author, link in description. Ga. Natsu grunted as he skidded across the ground of the Makai. He quickly looked to see his fellow dragon slayers also be sent flying back and land hard on the ground around. They groaned in pain as they got up to glare at their opponent. Naruto smirked at the looks his students are sending him. Come now, children. You can do better than that, he said in a mocking tone. Flashback. What? Natsu and several shouted as they stared at Naruto in disbelief. Naruto rolled his eyes at the fools gawking at him. You heard me. Gajiel was the first to speak up. You want to train us? Naruto nodded. That's right. Laxus raised an eyebrow. Why? Why the offer was tempting. What was Naruto's end goal in this? His fellow blonde shrugged. Because I don't have much to do now. One thing I can do is get all of you up to snuff. Your performance during the invasion was very average. All of you should have been able to kill at least one dragon, but none of you did. Some were close. However, being close is not good enough. Close enough will just get you killed in the battles we will have in the future. So, what will you be teaching us? Sting asked. Naruto got a thoughtful look as he replied. For one thing, I will personally work on Laxus and Cobras since there are no lightning or poison dragons available now. The other slayers will have their dragons to complete their training, and I will have you master your powers to new heights. Urza will start her training on the basic spells for her crystal slaying arts. He then turned to Lucy and the other mages that share her magic. The stellar mages will work on their magic with Anna. Anna gave her fellow stellar mages a playful wink. For some reason, all of the aforementioned mages felt a shiver go down their spines. Irene will have her own set as well. Cue a similar reaction by the collected mages that were at the receiving ends of Irene's playful, but sinister smile. Ultir. Naruto called out. The time mage flinches in shock before replying, why yes. You will be working with Leon and Gray on your ice magic. Your time magic is impressive but very limited in its capabilities, so we need to improve your other abilities to fall back on, Naruto explained. Ultir nodded at the suggestion. Ice magic was her second best magic ability as she inherited it from her mother. Plus, she would get time to know her pseudo-siblings. This should be interesting. Plus, spending time with my new father. Ultir said mentally. This is still all very weird for her to think about. Then again, this was Fairy Tail. They were experts at the weirdness. Naruto turned his attention to the ace of the fairies. Guildarts, I will be working with you as well. Jura and Kana will be joining as well. I am putting you both through the grind. I am hoping you can make our next fight enjoyable. He explained with a grin that sent shivers down everyone's spine for various reasons. Good luck, you two. Nearly everyone mentally prayed for their safety. Kana raised her hand in confusion. Wait, why me? Because you have potential to wield Guildart's magic, so it's only appropriate to cultivate that potential and build up your current magic arsenal, Naruto explained. Mira. You and Sela will be working together under me. Gray and Natsu will join you two on occasion. Wait, why us? The fire and ice mages asked in unison. Naruto waved off the question. That will be explained another time. I will let you know when to join. His two queens and the dragons knew exactly why he wanted Natsu to join, and he had explained Gray's predicament. They trusted Naruto will be able to handle this well. What about us? Anna asked as he gestured to herself, Irene, and the other dragons. You two, when not training your groups, along with the dragons, will get separate sessions in farther locations to avoid destruction reaching the other camps. They all need to get used to their new bodies, and I want to help you two catch up to me. Plus, it gives time to resolve lingering issues between the three of us. Naruto thought to himself. While he was happy his wives accepted him back, he knew damn well that does not bury all the issues they may have. These spars will hopefully clear the air between the three. Especially the tensions that involve their daughters. Camps? Levi asked in confusion. Naruto nodded. We will be camping in Makai for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Everyone shouted again. Naruto grumbled at all the bloody shouting. Wait, isn't time faster in Makai? Wouldn't that mean that 3 weeks would be 3 months in the Makai? Makarov asked. Correct, Naruto confirmed. He then gave everyone a sinister smile. And trust me when I say if you thought the training I gave Wendy was rough. You haven't seen anything yet. Everyone gulped and took a step back. We're all going to die. End of flashback. I knew this would be hard, but this is ridiculous, Gajil grunted. Now you know how I felt while training with him. Wendy retorted. Enough, everyone. Urza barked. Getting frustrated will get us nowhere. Well, what can we do? Everything we tried, he's been able to nullify or work around. Sting replied. Urza gave everyone a once-over as she looked back at her father. I have an idea. We need to find a way to leave him vulnerable for just long enough for all of us to hit him with everything we can. The group quickly and quietly gave different suggestions and reached a plan they could agree on. They turned back to see Naruto simply smiling and standing there. Ah, the wondrous joy of childhood naivety. How I miss it. If you're all done planning, may we continue? You won't be smiling for long, you arrogant smug bastard, Natsu promised as his fists were engulfed in flames. Naruto chuckled. Smug. Maybe. Bastard. Nope. Arrogant. Dead wrong. Pride is its place but arrogance will get you killed. Now then, since you want to try to make me vulnerable, it's fitting I do the same to you. What the hell was that? Natsu asked. No say. Wendy replied, 1. Okay voce disi. Gajil asked, 2. Cosa se che non va inte, idiota. Cobra said, 3. Pourquoi ne puis-je comprendre aucun d'entre vous? Urza demanded, 4. Hiaha ka mea e hanane. Natsu shouted in confusion, 5. What did you do? Everyone shouted at Naruto who was too busy laughing his ass off. Ha, ha, I'm sorry. Naruto finally said as he calmed down. It's just really fun to see people reacting to that spell. It never gets old. He looked at his training dummies, victims, in amusement. Now to answer why you can't understand each other, but still understand me. It's quite simple, sound. Cobra growled in annoyance. Of course. That's what you did. Everyone turned to Cobra in confusion, unable to understand what he said. What? Naruto nodded. Yes, Cobra. To educate you all, sound moves through air molecules by vibrations. What I did with my clap is skewer the sound waves when you speak. So once the sound waves leave your mouth, how the sounds are skewered are different for each of you. So, each one of you will have a unique hearing experience. He gave them a cheeky grin. To simplify it for you all, I used sound magic to screw with your hearing and speaking. Every time you each speak, no one will be able to understand. He clapped his hands together. Now then, with the inability to speak, how will you use your plan to incapacitate me? Not even Wendy's winds or Cobra's sound magics can nullify it at the moment. What shall you do? Will you continue? He asked with a cheeky grin. The Slayers looked at one another before turning back to Naruto with determined looks. The blonde king smirked. Good. It would be a shame if it ended too soon. Rogue was the first to rush forward as he created a column of shadows to wrap around Naruto, but he created his own shadows to grab Rogue's and rip them to pieces. Naruto turns to see Natsu hurling a point-blank brilliant flame. He quickly killed the flame away and prepared to send Natsu flying away. But instead of the fire mage, he found his daughter, Wendy, glaring at him defiantly with her bow and a unique arrow notched. She smirked at her father's slight surprise as she launched the arrow. Naruto barely had enough time to tilt his head, but as the arrow passed his cheek, it exploded. Arg! Naruto grunted in pain as his ears rang in pain as all other noise was obscured. He tried to look for Wendy, but his vision was jumbled and unfocused. Just taking a simple step caused everything to spin. Sonic arrows. Maybe I went overboard with those trick arrows. Before Naruto regained some semblance of stability, he felt his feet step on something slimy. He looked around to see himself surrounded by a large purple puddle. Poison. He quickly jumped in the air, only to be met by Sting and Laxus as they put their hands together as a brilliant flash illuminated from their palms and right into Naruto's eyes. The Dragon King grunted in pain at his eyes being blinded again as he then felt two of the Slayers approaching him to attack. He grabbed the wrists of his two attackers and quickly identified them by their senses, Urza and Gajil. Naruto had little time to react as another presence approached him and landed a solid hit to his face. Naruto grunted as he let go of Urza and Gajeel as he skidded back. Suddenly, Natsu and Rogue both appeared behind him to sneak attack him, but Naruto quickly grabbed them and slammed their heads together, and hurled them back to the rest of the group. Naruto shook his head as his sight and hearing were still not back to normal. His eyesight was blurry but somewhat manageable. The ringing of his ears had gone to just a muted white silence that muffled everything. However, he discovered a new problem as he tried to smell the scents of his students to track them. He could not smell them. Hell, he could not smell anything. He wondered what caused his change as he then felt something off within his mouth and spat out a violet blob onto the ground. Though his vision was impaired, Naruto could see what was in his mouth and realized what happened. Poison. Cobra injected poison into my mouth and nose and took away my smell and taste. The effect must have been delayed and I was forced to focus on my more immediate impairments. He. Looks like they have taken to their studies well. Wendy looked at her comrades as she pointed at Urza and Laxus, then to her father. Immediately the two understood. Right. The fairy queen in her black wing armor and the lightning dragon slayer launched themselves towards Naruto. Raryu no Hoken. Night Slash. Naruto smirked as he felt the attacks approaching him. So you hindered my senses. But when all else fails for a dragon, they fall back to their last option. Their instincts. At the last moment, Naruto caught Urza's slash and Laxus's fist. What? Everyone shouted in shock. How in the hell could anyone still be able to fight with all their senses hindered like they were with Naruto? However, it seems the Slayers had forgotten a crucial detail. Never underestimate Naruto. Naruto quickly threw the two back as the other Slayers encircled him. Wendy gave a hand sign and everyone understood the signal. All of the Slayers took a deep breath and roared. Karyu no Hoko. Tetsuryu no Hauko. Tenryu no Hoko. Dokuryu no Hoko. Hakuryu no Hauko. Aryu no Hoko. Hikairyu no Hoko. Urza's blade took a white and crimson glow. She turned to Wendy, who gave her sister a quick nod. The redhead nodded to his sibling and rushed right above her father's head. Crimson Sky Slash. Urza roared as brought her massive blade down on her father's head. Boom. A massive, multicolor explosion envelopes Naruto as everyone skidded across the ground due to the force of the explosion. The group looks up as a dust cloud has obscured the area Naruto was in. They couldn't sense Naruto but knew those attacks would not be enough to finish him and quickly focused all their senses, impaired or not, to find out where Naruto is. Suddenly, the group feels a spike in mana from the center of the smoking crater. Not bad. Not bad at all. But still not enough. A familiar blonde said. Naruto appeared with several nicks, scratches, and injuries, but he was still standing. He delivered a fierce gut punch to Urza that knocked her down hard. He quickly used a roundhouse kick on Laxus to send him to the ground as well. Dead. He told the two. The other Slayers tried to help their comrades, but Naruto quickly brought 5 of the 6 Slayers down. Dead. He told them. Natsu tried to land one final hit, but Naruto grabbed him by his hair and slammed him to the ground as he pushed his knee onto Natsu's gut and summoned 2 ethereal blades, pointed them at the Fire Slayer's neck. Super dead. Naruto said with a smirk. Natsu growled but relented as he knew it was over. Naruto nodded as he stood up and surveyed his class victims. All right, class is over. For now, he said. Everyone sighed from the ground. Damn, that was intense. Sting began. We're completely spent, and you barely have a scratch on you. Rogue continued. That's pretty pathetic, Cobra concluded. Naruto shook his head. You're wrong. You all did well. Even after a few weeks or months in the Makai, you have all done well in improving. He looked at all of them with a proud look. Before, none of you were rather good at coordinating attacks. But here, despite me taking away your ability to speak, you all managed to coordinate a plan with one another. So don't sell yourself so short. You all have grown well in this short amount of time. We still couldn't injure you. Gajeel insisted. Naruto rolled his eyes. I will admit the plan was good, but this was not the first time I had to deal with my senses being hindered or outright taken away. And I was trained to deal with such handicaps. You just had bad luck. But don't worry, I will pass those teachings to all of you in due time. He gave all of them a nod of respect. This was one of many lessons, and I will say you pass quite well. Only improvements can be made from here. So, take a break, because once we're all back to normal, we will get back to work soon afterward. All the Slayers gave him a determined glare. Hi. Training Group 2. Gravity Pressure X 100. All Crush. Iron Rock Titan Fist. Card Magic. Thunderbolt. Buster Slash. Naruto smirked, impressive power. With one swing of his arm, with an ether blade, sliced the magic attacks to pieces. But still not enough. Not even the gravity pressure seems to be affecting him. Suddenly, Naruto felt a huge source of mana from below him. He quickly jumped to the side as a massive geyser of energy erupted from the area he was in. Don't forget. I am here, beloved. Irene teased from a few feet away. Naruto turned to her and gave her a cheeky grin. I have not forgotten anything. Kagura's eye twitched a bit. Flirt later, you two. She groaned. Irene looked at her subordinated in amusement. Ah. Are you jealous of us, Kagura? Kagura's face developed a full blush. What? No. Don't worry, Kagura. I have plans for a date once we leave Makai. Naruto said. Kagura perked up. Wait, really? She paused and quickly coughed into her fist. I don't mind. I just need to check my schedule. She said awkwardly. Everyone looked at the sword mage in amusement. You are such a schoolgirl, Kagura. Demaria teased. Kagura's blush returned with a vengeance. Shut up, Demaria. As entertaining as your love life is, Naruto. We should get back to work. Gildarts said as he tried to get everything back on track. Naruto shrugged. Alright. Training Group 3. Ice Make. Cannon. Gray shouted. Ice Make. Serpents. Leon summoned several giant ice serpents. Ice Make. Rosencrona. Ultir cries out as ice rose vines fly from the glyph behind her. Water Slicer. Juvia called out as summoned several water sickles. Spirit Blades. Merity sent several blades of mana. Naruto smirked as he took a deep breath and roared, Karyu no Hoko. A massive column of flames erupted from his lips. The great blaze melted all the ice attacks. Juvia's water evaporated almost instantly. Even the spirit blades, made entirely of pure ether nano, also melted. Everyone's eyes widened in horror. Shit. They all shouted as they quickly jumped out of the way as the flames passed by them. They had to turn their heads away from the sheer heat of the flames and covered their eyes from the blinding light of the inferno. Gah! Gray grunted. Natsu's flames could never melt my ice so quickly. Yeah, well, his flames were never blue, either, Leon replied. And Natsu's definitely not the king of dragons, Ultir concluded. Naruto smirked as he decided to tease the new additions to his family. Come on, Ultir. Show your dear papa what you're made of. Same to you, Merity, my precious granddaughter. The pair felt several veins pulse on their heads as their anger and embarrassment rose. Oh, I am going to show you. Ultir growled, when I have you torn to shreds. Several rose crones appeared and attempted to pierce Naruto and rip him into pieces. Tear him apart. Merity roared with equal ferocity as several dozen spirit blades flew towards her grandfather. Gray, Juvia, and Leon sweat dropped as they saw Naruto laugh as he dodges his adopted daughters' and granddaughters' attacks. Naruto just loves pissing those two off. Leon began. I am starting to think he has a kink for it, Gray replied. Leon blushed a bit seeing the fire in Merity's eyes. She really is quite lovely when she's pissed. Gray patted him on the back. Just watch it or else Naruto and Ultir will gut you. Don't remind me. Love is so nice. Juvia gushed. Training Group 4. Hummed all the stellar mages as they meditated with their mana swirling around their bodies. That's it, breathe. Let the mana flow throughout you. Let your connection to the celestial spirit world fill you. Anna advised. The group sighed deeply as they all slowly got up. Now unleash it. Anna called out. Lightning bolt. Jello called out as a bolt of lightning flew from his fist. Pegasus Sway Seiken. Lucy called as several blasts of stellar mana fired from her fists. Diamond Dust. Yukino cried as a blast of cold air flew from her dominant fist. Thunder Claw. Serrano roared as electricity erupted from her dominant hand in the shape of a vicious cobra. Nebula Chain. Katya called as several chains erupted from her back and palms. Anna clapped. That's it, you're progressing marvelously. She praised. Still nothing compared to you and Jello, we are pretty far behind. Serrano huffed. Jello shook his head. You shouldn't think so lowly of yourselves. It took me years to get some of these spells. The fact you have gotten even one down is an outstanding amount of progress. He explained. Anna nodded. He's right. Don't be so hard on yourselves. While it's good to push yourselves, if you don't know when to stop, you will cause more than good to your body. Speaking from experience, Yukino asked. Anna gave a slight giggle. You don't want to know how many times I had that conversation with my dear husband. Every day? Lucy asked. Anna giggled again. Not exactly, but close enough. Training Group 5. Breathe, Naruto told his current student. Eclair took a deep breath and exhaled as her mana flowed out of her body. The mana mixed with the ether nano in the air and ignited into a glorious golden flame that danced around her body. That's it. Let the power flow through you and out your palms. This power is yours, but it's very volatile, and only with discipline will you be able to use it willingly and not in highly emotional situations. Sweat began to build up on Eclair's forehead as she tries to concertant her flames into the palms of her hand. She continues to struggle until the flames explode out of her hands as she falls to the ground. Eclair released a frustrated groan. Damn. Naruto offered her a hand that she graciously took. Don't beat yourself too much. That was amazing for a novice. You shall learn soon enough with time and patience. A power that will be yours alone. Eclair snorted. What shall we call it then? Phoenix slaying magic. Naruto gave her a smirk. Well, there has never been a Phoenix Slayer in the past. So, I look forward to seeing how you will develop with your magic. Hopefully, this will also lead to you telling me more about my past. Training Group 6. Soul Extinction. Satan Soul Mira shouted. Moonblast. A transformed Sela shouted. Naruto breathes in and fires a destruction roar that rips through the two attacks and forces Mira and Sela to dodge their attacks. Naruto gives them a teasing smirk. Come now. Show me more of your demonic sides. Mira smirked as she went into her Cetri soul form. You'll regret that, she said with Sela nodding. The demon duo jumped as their teacher merely smirked in anticipation. Training Group 7. Boom. Several people are sent flying in the air before landing hard on the ground. The injured individuals groaned as they looked up to their diabolical taskmaster. Come on, you scaly bastards. You need to get back into shape from that 14-year hibernation. Naruto called. No thanks to you, Skiadram said as he and the other humanoid dragons began getting up. Igneel smirked. My blood is boiling with excitement. I really want to knock him down a peg or two, Grandini growled. Get in line, Gran. You're not the only one that wants some pounds of flesh from him. Metallicana replied. Wislegia grunted as he got up. I may be old, but I have plenty of life left in me. Naruto smirked. Then quit talking about age and let's get to work. He waved them forward. Come get me. The dragon group charged. Training Group 8. Naruto grunted as he was slammed through several boulders before skidding to halt by crashing through the ground of the Makai soil. And bringing her to the Makai of all places. I understand you wanting to train her in such a short amount, but you couldn't have thought of a different location. Naruto grunted as he got up to see his two wives glaring at him as their mana erupted from their bodies in powerful auras and causing the area around to shake. I knew things could get ugly, but I should have expected how much these two bottled up towards me for all these years. My training methods for Wendy just pushed it all out. Look, I understand your disagreement, but Wendy needed to get stronger to compete with the strong mages in the GMG. 3 months would not have been enough. Even if she had a second origin and I unlocked it for her, that alone would not have been enough. She needed proper training. And I needed a place to give the time to do so. Naruto said. Anna glared at her husband. You could have created a pocket dimension if you were really crunched for time. Naruto glared right back at his wives. You both know that creating a pocket dimension is a lengthy process that could take months to complete properly. And you know as well as I do those mini dimensions can cause immeasurable psychological damage to a person's psyche. Many of our allies lost their minds to the endless voids that were created during that time. The Makai was the safer option. That response seemed to anger both women even more as Irene enchanted the air to cause a massive fireball to fall towards Naruto. The blonde quickly jumped away but was forced to block a sword slash from Anna, who looked absolutely furious. Safer option. Have you forgotten how demented the Makai can be to someone? Have you forgotten the trauma that the Forest of Illusions did to us and many of our allies? Or what that damn castle at the center did to you and your own failing sanity at the time? Anna roared as mana exploded out of her body in a beautiful rainbow aura. Naruto gritted as he fought off the force of his wife's attack when an equally angry joined in and slammed her staff against Naruto's blades. The black dragon roared as an azure aura of mana erupted from him and easily matched the size and pressure that the combined auras of his wives were emitting. I have forgotten nothing. I'm aware of how damaging that place could be to a person. It's why I made sure we were nowhere near that place. It was dangerous, but we handled it, so I had faith that Wendy could do the same. Naruto growled. Anna felt tears prickling her eyes as she and Irene tried to push Naruto away as they poured more mana into their attacks. Damn it, Naruto, Wendy is not like us. She shouldn't be treated like some facsimile. Naruto finally had reached his breaking point. I know. He shouted at his two wives as he easily blasted them away with an overwhelming shockwave of his mana as they crashed into the ground. The two ladies of the apocalypse groaned as they looked up to see Naruto landed above them, breathing heavily with a glare which they returned with equal ferocity. After taking several deep breaths, he begins to calm down. He looks back to his wives as the pair continues to glare at him. I know. He said with a heavy sigh as he looked at the two of them. Look, I am not going to say what I did was right. Hell, even I am willing to admit that I may have gone too far with a lot of my methods to make prepare Wendy. However, we both know how vulnerable Wendy and the others were during the war. I didn't want to risk anything happening to her like it almost happened back then. In the end, she proved she could handle the place, and so far, everyone else has shown they can as well. He sighed as he stood up and looked at the two. I know I crossed a line, but I honestly thought I was doing the right thing. You said that as well when you go deeper into your dragonification. Anna retorted. Naruto nodded. I am aware, that's why I was always worried I went too far and made it clear to her that she was to tell me if I did. But despite everything, she took it all and rose from that pain. Plus, with who we will have to face, we need to push everyone to their limits and beyond. Still, Irene began, but Naruto interrupted her. I won't deny that I may have taken it too far. I am still getting adjusted to this new status quo of mine which has been shaken up again with all this. But it does not excuse anything. So, I am sorry, and I will apologize to Wendy as well. For some time, the three stayed in comfortable silence as Anna and Irene looked at one another before they turned back to him. It's fine, they said in unison. I was angry, but hearing your point of view puts things into a more understandable perspective, Anna said. You're still not off the hook. Your methods will still need some adjustments, but it's not all that bad. Irene poked Naruto's chest. The blonde just chuckled at the redhead's words, which made her pout. Thank you. Naruto flinched as he got up. I forgot how rough you two can get when you're pissed and motivated. Dragons forbid anyone else is foolish enough to do the same. Naruto offered his hand to both. Well, unlike others, you actually can regenerate, which means you can the pain from the beatings, Irene grunted as she got up. Naruto grinned at the two. Sometimes I wish I was more like you too. Sometimes instant regeneration was not all that it's cracked up to be. The feeling's mutual. The two replied. Later in the evening, a large bonfire was erected with all the mages around the flames as several pots of food were around the larger one. The smell was salivating as everyone took a plate and filled it with as much. This is amazing. Everyone cheered as they devoured their large dinner. It's like the feast in the palace but different at the same time. Meredy exclaimed. Hey, don't hog all the fish, Happy. Carla scolded. Happy flinched as he mumbled, sorry. Natsu, stay the fuck away from my chicken cutlets. Gajeel warned when he saw the Pinkett try to grab one from his plate. You've had 3 already. Wait for another one. Laxus admonished. Bam. Ow. Natsu grunted as Urza glared at the fire mage. Natsu, keep your hands to your plate. You can get thirds after the current ones are done, understood? Natsu fearfully nodded. Yes, ma'am. The food has such a rich taste and flavor to it. Mira complimented. I can't stop eating. I want more. Lucy sighed in content. Seriously, is there anything you can't do? Natsu asked in excitement. Naruto rolled his eyes. Trust me when I say yes. You have only seen and known me for a few weeks. You haven't seen a lot of my flaws. So, have you seen the people around you? Everyone has flaws. Hell, all of the members of Fairy Tail have their own quirks that can gel or collide with someone. But we somehow make it work. So, you'd fit right in without any difficulty. Natsu replied. I feel like you're being a bit too optimistic about me. Naruto retorted with a sweat drop. Natsu shook his head. Nah, you're just like the rest of us. A flawed, but a sadistic human being. Naruto snorted as he barked a laugh. After a few minutes, he managed to calm himself as he looked up to the skies of the Makai. Human, huh? I have not thought about being human in a very long time. He said in a nostalgic tone. Over 400 years have passed for. Nearly 500 for you, honey. Anna continued. Yet it feels like all that was a lifetime ago. Irene sighed. What was it like when you first came to Earthland? Natsu asked. Naruto sighed as he looked at his audience. That is quite a long story, but I guess I can give you some details in pieces. He closed his eyes as he recalled when he first came to Earthland. It all began in the year X363. Flashback. Arg. Bleg. Ha. 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 Am I alive? I have my flesh on me. Nothing is melted or missing. Ow. I can feel pain. I'm alive. I'm alive. Eat that, you bastards. I pulled a fast on you. Nobody can stop Naruto UZ. The young Naruto paused as he closed his mouth and his face curled into disgust. No, I refuse to use that name. That is not who I am anymore. He took a deep breath. I am simply Naruto. This is a new life. A new beginning. Thank you, Shinigami. Thanks, Kurama, I wish we had become close sooner. And most of all thank you Hinata, for loving me, and I will carry our greatest creation until I find the right one. He took a deep breath of the air around him. Time to set out. Naruto looked around at his environment in wonder. This place is amazing. So many trees, not as many as Konoha, but still. And the animals are so diverse. This is all amazing. His mind wanders to an indigo-haired Hyuga. I wish you could see all this. Naruto stops as he heard something. What was that? He slowly walks forwards and sees an opening in the forest to see an old man being harassed by a large bandit. Hand over all your belongings, old man. The bandit threatens. The old man merely scoffed in disdain. Never. I will not give my belongings to a despicable child like you. The bandit glared at the old man. That's it. However, before he could strike the old man, he was hit with a flying kick from Naruto. The bandit stood and glared at the blonde teen. Drop your weapons and leave the old man alone. Who are you? The bandit demanded. Naruto scoffed. None of your concern. Just leave and never bother this old man again. Like hell, I will. Let's see how a boy like you handles a mage. The bandit condenses his mana into his fist. Now fall. Naruto focuses his chakra, his mana into his palm and creates something he only recently learned how to do before the Sasuke retrieval mission. A one-handed Rasengan. We'll see about that. Rasengan. Naruto roared as he slammed his sphere of Ethernano into the bandit as he was sent flying into a tree, screaming in agony. Naruto sighed as he saw the bandit falls to the ground. He turned to see the old man looking at him in awe. Are you alright? Naruto asked. The old man nodded. Yes. Thank you, young man. No problem. Who is this guy? A simple bandit that enjoyed taking advantage of the elderly. Maybe I should stay with you until we get to a safe location. The old man shook his head. Oh no, I could not ask this of you. I don't have anywhere to go, so going with you is kind of my only option. Naruto joked. Don't you have any family? Naruto shook his head. Sadly, I do not. They are all dead. I see. I apologize for bringing up bad memories. He said in a regretful tone. Naruto shook his head. Don't worry about it. It was a long time ago. So do you mind having some company? Not at all. I welcome it, and I am sure my village will welcome you with open arms. The old man said with a kind smile. The two then began the journey to the old man's destination. So, what is your name, old man? Naruto asked. The old man laughed. Ha! Rubal. Rubal Marvel, 6. I think this is the start of a beautiful friendship, Naruto said with a smile. Rubal chuckled. You know something. I am thinking the same thing. Flashback end. Wait, so that's how you met Rubal? Several of the mages asked as Naruto nodded. Huh, so that's where Marvel came from. I always wondered where it came from. Urza said aloud. I wasn't that surprised when he retold his tale. The list of people that both of us were close to was rather small, so it was easy to figure out. Wendy said. What happens next? Gray asked. Naruto shook his head. Sorry, we will have to cut this short. Nearly everyone groaned in disappointment, which caused Naruto to roll his eyes in amusement. Why? Asked someone. We may have somewhere to go tomorrow. So, you should all get a good night's sleep. This goes especially to the Slayers. Everyone looked disappointed but complied with the older Marvel's wishes. Naruto sighed as he sat in his large tent and contemplates what he felt earlier today. He turns to see both of his wives looking at him in worry. Is everything alright? Anna asked. Did you feel something from the crystal? Irene followed up. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I think it's trying to tell me something. A warning. A message from the previous kings or the primordials? Anna asked. I think it's the latter. And if I am right, it means it's time to start the second half of my plan. He replied. You mean the plan that you have been keeping tight on? Irene teased. Naruto chuckled. That's right. Anna raised an eyebrow in suspicion. I have a sneaking suspicion of what it is. But I want to wait and see what it is. Naruto sighed as he laid down on his sleeping mat with Anna and Irene taking the sides next to him. Training is going well, Naruto said after breaking the comfortable silence. Anna hummed. Yeah, they are making great progress in such a short amount of time. Yes, they are. They remind me of the three when we trained with the girls. Irene said before flinching, realizing this may make Naruto uncomfortable. She quickly said, sorry. Naruto shook his head. No, it's alright. I don't mind talking about it. Anna and Irene looked at one another. Are you sure? Anna asked. Naruto nodded. I am. And you're right. They do remind me of them. Irene smirked. Who resembles who? Naruto chuckled. Mira and Seela are definitely Kazuhana. Anna and Irene giggled. Absolutely. Those two could be her disciples or relatives and I would believe it. Same with Tsukimi and Kagura. Naruto replied. Anna rolled her eyes. That girl is just too easy to tease once you know where she cracks. Naruto smirked. Same with our daughters. And my granddaughter. Irene giggled. It really is too much fun to tease them. They always have the most adorable reactions. Anna looked at her husband seriously. Naruto, you have been rather hesitant with Eclair. Irene nodded. You know that you will have to tell her whatever you're hiding. Naruto sighed. I know. It's just I am afraid that what I tell her will crush her. Both laid their dominant hands on their husband's chest. We know. But you have a responsibility to tell her truth. Irene said. We will be with you no matter what happens or what you decide. Anna followed up. Naruto sighed in appreciation. Thank you. The three closed their eyes as they allowed sleep to overtake them. Unknown realm. Naruto opened his eyes to see himself on a large gray platform. What is this? He could see that was nothing around, but a dark blue space as his skies. He walks to the edge of the platform and looks down to see nothing but a misty void with no end in sight. He turns when he hears an odd moaning that resembles a whale's cry. He sees some weird creatures that resembled whales floating through the starless skies. There also seems to be blue transparent jellyfish floating about and what looked like some kind of serpentine creature with horns on the sides of its head and on top its head swimming in the void. 7. What a strange place, he mused to himself. He has an idea of where he was, and his suspicions were confirmed when a familiar voice spoke to him. Naruto. Naruto looked around to laser in on the voice, but it seems to be coming from everywhere. Lady Giratina. Follow my voice. She commanded. Naruto looked back and walked to the center of the platform. Is this the realm of dreams? He asked. It had been some time since he came into a conscious dream like this. Yes. Or to be more precise, this is your portion of your dream realm. Reality does not follow the same logic as the physical world. You can change it to whatever you may wish if you have mastery over your realm and even travel to others' dreams if you know where to look. Naruto took a deep breath and looked to the void of his dream. What is this calling for, my lady? Naruto, the time has come for you to fulfill your promise to us. Naruto hummed. I see. You know that they will not be the same, correct? Giratina asked in a regretful tone. Naruto bit his lip before nodding. Yes, they may have the same appearance, but they will not be the same comrades I once knew. This is the burden I will carry to atone for the sins I have committed against our pantheon. Very well. We shall see you soon, Naruto. With that, a bright flash illuminated the dark skies and blinded Naruto as everything went white. Real world. Naruto groaned as he woke up in his tent. He looked around to see that he was alone. A warm and inviting aroma filled his nostrils and he instantly recognized what it was. Anna and Irene are making breakfast for everyone. Oh, how he wished he could just go out, greet everyone, and enjoy his wife's cooking after being denied it for centuries. Unfortunately, time was of the essence, and he needed to get everyone ready as soon as possible. So, with great reluctance, Naruto took a quick shower and with a new set of clothes, he went out to the sight of everyone enjoying a very large and delicious morning feast. Everyone was enjoying the food as Naruto came to join them. Before anyone could they could tell something was off by the sober look on Naruto's face. Did something happen, Naruto? Anna asked as she set another plate of food down. Naruto tilted his head before shaking his head. Everyone. We will be having a short session today. The dragon slayers, my daughters, and the dragons will be coming with me for something important. He announced. A majority looked at him in confusion while the rest recognized what he may be alluding to. Wait. Did something happen? Natsu asked. I had a message. It's time I fulfill an agreement I made with I guess you can call them my superiors. We must go to a specific location to speak with them. This made several heads turn to him. Where exactly are we going? Naruto looked at the group with a serious look. We are heading to Mount Zonia. Several hours later. So, this is the mythical mountain of Zonia. Laxus mused as he looked around the largest mountain in Fury. I always wanted to see what this place looked like. Not as overwhelming as I expected it to be. Wendy said. So, this was where the clash of the ace and king took place. I must admit, this feels fitting. Urza said. I don't know if it feels a bit empty. Gajeel retorted. Could be worse. Though this is your lair or something? Natsu asked. Naruto shook his head. No, I would not say it's my lair. Just a place that I like to visit from time to time. Everyone, except Anna, Irene, and Wendy looked at him curiously. What exactly draws you to this place? Lucy asked. This place is connected to the dragons. It's so mysterious yet mesmerizing. Due to this weird connection, the dragons decided to do something productive with it. Naruto began walking to the entrance of the cave. Come, let me show you the point of this journey. Anna, Irene, and Wendy followed without any hesitation. The rest looked at each other with some confusion but shrugged it off as they followed the four. The group continued for several minutes before reaching what seems to be a dead end. In front of them stood a large circular gold gate with two pedestals at its sides. The group could also see two horned dragon statues just a few feet away from them. Here we are, Naruto said. Wow, what a blast from the past, Irene said in a nostalgic tone. Anna nodded. Yup. What exactly is this? Lucy asked. This is known as a dragon gate. It was used by our pantheon as a means of travel to connect to far-off locations to make travel much easier. Anna explained. So, you can just use them to go anywhere you want? Cobra asked. Igneel made a sort of gesture. Not exactly. The gate must exist where you are going. It's like the Eclipse Gate. Though there are some exceptions to this, they need to have a connection to our pantheon. Why are we showing us this now? Laxus asked. Because the last time I tried to use them I was rejected. The gates listen to the wills of the dragons. And what they see as an enemy will not be allowed in. Everyone flinched at that. Ouch. That had to hurt. Gajeel muttered. Naruto nodded. It did, but I deserved it at the time. I hope recent events have caused a slight change of opinion. The blonde sighed as he stretched his arms out and partially closed his hands. The two dragon statues slowly levitated off the ground before being placed into the pedestals. Naruto walked to the front of the gate and performed several hand signs and made a silent mantra in an unknown language. We are not enemies to the dragons. Please open your doors and let us through. For a few seconds, nothing happened until the gate began to glow with something in Naruto's chest began to glow as well. The gate slowly opened and revealed a white glow. Naruto turned to his companions and gestured to the gate. He began walking into the light with everyone minus Wendy, Irene, and Anna hesitating before following behind him. Unknown location. When the light faded from everyone's eyes, they now found themselves in a massive desert. All around them was nothing but miles of sand. The only structure for miles is a large stone monument of a serpentine dragon that coiled around the group. Not a single sign of life could be seen. It was like the entire area was devoid of all life except for the mages currently in the middle of the lifeless desert. Now where the hell are we? Lucy asked. From a beautiful mountain range to a barren desert. Ultir grimaced from the intense heat she and everyone else was being bombarded with. With a giant stone dragon surrounding us, Merity said. Naruto ignored the childish complaining. These are the desolated lands. Most of the group looked confused by the name, but some recognized it. I think I have heard of this place. A wasteland where there is absolutely no life here. No animal or plant has been able to survive or grow here in centuries. Yet no one knows why. Ultir explained. Naruto nodded as he turned to the group. Do you remember what made me infamous in all of Earthland? Lucy looked confused. Yeah, you destroyed an entire country in a single night. Oh shit. Her eyes widened, along with everyone else that did not know the truth. You mean? Sting asked with wide eyes. Yeah, this is the country I destroyed that gave me the infamous title of the Apocalypse Dragon, Naruto replied in a somber tone, yet one could hear the hint of nostalgia within it as he looked at the remains of the fallen country, perhaps remembering what was here once upon a time. So, what is this? Natsu asked as he gestured to the structure around them. This is the Ring of Oroboros. The most sacred of all the ancient dragon temples. And one of the last ones still standing. For the most part anyway. Naruto explained. The dragon slayers that recognized the name looked around in shock. Wait, this is the temple. The one only the Dragon King can access. Naruto smirked. That's right. And to activate it, we need this. The blonde king stretched his arm up with his hand open and palm facing the sandy ground. Many wondered what they were waiting for. However, their questions were answered when an emerald glow enveloped Naruto's limb. The glow continued to grow brighter as it rose from his palm. Finally, the object fully came out of Naruto's palm. It was a gem the size of an eggplant. It was mostly a golden yellow that radiated a brilliant emerald light. Immediately, everyone felt a change as soon as the crystal appeared. Serenity seems to overpass all of them. For Anna and Irene, they felt a sense of nostalgia wash over them as they looked upon something they had not seen in 4 centuries. What is that? Rogue asked. I feel so calm. And at peace. Gajeel said. It's like a piece I have been missing just suddenly came back to me, Laxus commented with Cobra nodding in agreement. In fact, the dragon slayers felt the same as the other mages, feeling the peaceful nature coming from the crystal. Naruto presented the large gem to his audience. The Dragon King Crystal. The Dragon Matrix. The Perfect Core. Code Eve. The Genesis Crystal. The greatest of all dragon crystals. The Soul Dew. It has many names, but the one you may be familiar with is the Orathan. The proof of one being the Dragon King. Whoa. That was all anyone could say as they gazed at the gem. Naruto gave them a nod to follow him to the center of the ring. Once they reached the epicenter of the ancient, the group saw several pedestals placed in a circle with each one shaped to hold a unique item. What kind of altar is this and what's up with the pedestals? Natsu asked in confusion. The one in the center seems to be made for the Orathan, but what the others were meant to hold was a mystery for him and most of the group. Naruto shook his head. Those are a story for another time, but let's just say they would usually hold the other relics of our pantheon. Before anyone could ask another question, he raised his hand to cease any more questions for now. Naruto placed his gem onto the center pedestal. The gem glowed for a few seconds before shrinking to the size of a large round crystal. For a second, nothing happened until the crystal began to glow a brilliant shade of emerald. The shine continued to glow brightly that it was becoming difficult for anyone to gaze at the crystal. Finally, the gem's shining reached its apex as a massive pillar of light erupted from the gem and flew into the skies. Nearly everyone had to cover their eyes from the blinding light. Several shockwaves rippled across the arena and blowing the countless pounds of sand out of the temple and leaving a marble ground. The stone statue of the temple glowed a deep emerald similar to the gem as a dome began to rise out the structure until it enveloped the entire temple. Everyone looked around to see themselves trapped in a dome area. Before anyone could speak, everyone paused as everything went still and silent. Suddenly an immeasurable amount of mana began pushing down on them. The sheer force and size of the mana being sensed was indescribable as nearly everyone was pushed to the ground. What's going on? Sting asked. This pressure, Gajil muttered. It's immeasurable. Not even Naruto made us feel like this. Laxus said. Irene, Anna, Wendy, and the dragon smirked. As expected from the four of them. Suddenly 4 large portals appeared before the group. They were each around 100 meters tall, which towered over the group, even over those he could become a dragon. The pressure seems to double with the 4 silhouettes coming from the portals. Then 4 beings came out of the portals. From the blue portal came a quadrupedal blue-scaled beast with silver accents on its legs and chest with a blue gem in the center of its chest. From the pink portal came a bipedal beast with a mostly gray body, long neck, pink accents, and 2 pearls on its shoulder. From the black portal came a familiar black and gray serpentine dragon with gold accents. Finally, from the golden portal came a quadrupedal white-furred beast with a golden crown around its abdomen. Everyone looked at the 4 beasts in reverence. I present you all to Giratina, Palkia, Dialga, and finally Arceus. The 4 primordials of our pantheon and the creators of this universe we all reside in. Naruto announced. Everyone stood in reverence of the 4 deities before. For the dragon slayers, they stood in complete silence. The ones raised by dragons knew who these 4 were. Their parents made it a point for them to recognize the 4 gods of their pantheons, the ones who created their universe and brought rise to the dragon race. The artificial slayers were in complete shock. They were never raised by a dragon, but the draconian instincts buried within their dragon lacrima resonated, and they felt compelled to submit to the 4 dragons before them. The other non-dragon slayer mages were frozen stiff as the pressure was unlike anything they had felt before from all the other mages or dragons they had met. Even Acnologia's pressure was dwarfed by the 4. Something they never thought was possible. It felt as if they were comparing an ocean to an entire planet. For Naruto, Anna, Irene, Wendy, and the dragons, they looked at the 4 as if they were meeting some old friends again. The last group mentioned quickly got down to one knee as they bowed to the 4. The others quickly followed suit. Rise, heir of Thorin. Same to his queens, and his comrades. Arceus spoke. Naruto gave a slight smirk as he stood up. It's a pleasure to speak with all of you once again. He said politely. The pleasure is ours, Naruto, Dialga replied. We are pleased to see you back to your senses, Palkia said. Well, as much as a bloodthirsty sadist can have his senses. Giratina jokes. Naruto snorted in amusement. I see you all have your sense of humor intact. We've had 400 years to keep it up. A cheeky Dialga said. Which is small when you think about our millennium-long lifetimes, Palkia replied in a thoughtful tone. Giratina looked at her little sister with a raised eyebrow. Are you calling us old? Arceus snorted. We are old, sister. Speak for yourself. I still consider myself quite youthful. Giratina huffed. Naruto rolled his eyes. Now you sound like that hyper-idiotic fool, Rock Lee. Don't compare me to that boy. Giratina warned in a dark tone. Oh dear. It looks like our beloved sister is having one of her moments. Dialga teased. It's adorable to see this side of hers. Always so serious. Arceus gushed. Giratina glared at her 3 siblings. What did I tell you about teasing me? Everyone who had never met the 4 deities just watched the spectacle in complete bafflement. Wow, they are nothing like what I expected. Happy finally said as he voiced the entire audience. The 4 dragons turned to their audience. Oh, did you expect us to act all high and mighty? To see ourselves as the superior beings, and see everyone else as inferior insects? Arceus asked. Natsu shrugged. Not exactly that cliché, but close enough, he said in answer. The four rolled their eyes. Oh please, that would be so boring Tilda. Giratina complained. Acting all high and powerful is so exhausting, Dialga said. Plus, a large majority of us divine beings act like our creations a lot more than we may care to admit, Palkia commented. We prefer interacting with our creations. They can be so interesting. Giratina said. Everyone looked at the gods in complete awe. This was not what they had expected to hear from them. It's good to see you again, Jira-chan. Wendy cheered. You as well, Wendy. The dark dragon replied. Everyone just looked between the two and then looked at Naruto in confusion. The blonde king rolled his eyes. Giratina made an appearance while I was training Wendy in the Makai. They surprisingly connected well. Everyone, awed, in understanding. Lucy slowly raised a hand. So how did you all come to be? She asked. As a writer, she couldn't help but let her imagination ask a question she had wondered for a long time. How did the world come to be? Where did magic come from? Dragons, kaiju, demons, monsters, perhaps even the origin of the one magic. All of it, it had all the things that would make up a fantastic story. Arceus shifted a bit as he created several nice and comfortable chairs for his audience with a flash of his eyes. Better sit down as this will be a bit of a long story. The primordial dragon king instructed them, in the beginning, there was only the primordial mind, there was nothing but darkness. All that existed was the deep, eternal void that had no thoughts or conscience, but it did have a will of its own to an extent. He began, particles of magic swirled around, and the illusion began crafted from the energy of the universe itself, bound to the will of its conscience turned to flesh, from this mind sprang the whole of creation. The stars, the planets, life and death. But in time, the mind was divided against itself. He declared, the particles of magic moving and swirling around to produce the image of a golden egg, surrounded by a myriad of color and energy, then there was a light that illuminated from the darkness. This light took the shape of a golden platinum egg. And within this egg were two fragments of a whole being, the white and gold dragon illustrated, the egg contents being unveiled to show a blue swirl mixed with a red swirl, a maelstrom of infinite power fighting against itself for balance and control. These two fragments, the radiant and the dire, thought and action, warred over creation with irreconcilable ferocity, and this in turn caused the egg to shatter apart. From this infighting, this chaos, Arceus stated as the image showed the egg exploding in a violent blast of light and color. A blistering explosion rippled across the sea of endless void and illuminated everything within this realm. This was the birth of our universe, and at the center of where this explosion erupted from is where I, Arceus, came to be. But I was not alone upon my creation. The dragon god of creation explained. The particles of magic coalesced to show the image of the young dragon god, surrounded by nothingness, and yet everything at the same time. A realm of infinite possibilities for him to bend and change to his whims. The great ripples of energy profoundly affected the black void. The mindless mass willed itself together. The essence of creation and nothingness came together, and the endless void was given a malleable form. A personification that the void was an extension of. This was how Giratina was born. The primordials of creation and death were now together in a seemingly empty universe. The swirls of magic then changed to a malevolent black, red, and violet. These particles condensed together to form the familiar shape of a young dark serpentine dragon. The young dark dragon looked at her majestic brother as they turned to the vast and empty universe filled with limitless potential. Everyone was paying rapid attention to the tale. So, you two are the oldest primordials? Ultir asked. Arceus and Giratina nodded. That's right. So, what did you two exactly do then? Merity asked. Arceus and Giratina shrugged. We simply talked. We discussed our birth, creation, and our purpose. We began formulating an idea of what to do in this empty universe to breathe life into it. How long did this take? Happy asked. Arceus tilted his head. I'm not exactly sure. Remember, time and space did not exist yet. We have no clue how much time has passed if we could record time to give you an answer. So, eventually, we decided, why not create the concepts of time and space? So together my sister and I use powers over creations to form two new lifeforms. one to represent time and space respectively. This was how Dialga and Palkia came to be. The swirls of particles showed the young dragon duo unleashing their primal powers of life and death together. The powers that govern the infinite powers to begin and end the universe swirled together as two eggs formed. The first was a sapphire blue that cracked as shockwaves rippled through, creating nebulas and clouds of cosmos. From this egg came a familiar bipedal blue and silver dragon. The other egg, a bright hot pink, began to crack as well. The ripples began to create the first infant galaxies that would be abundant throughout the universe in the future. Portals to non-existent dimensions began to sprout as the egg hatched, and thus came the bipedal white and pink dragon with white wings. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the version of the tale the four siblings gave. So they are omitting that important detail from their story. Not that I can't understand the reason. For now, it's best to keep that information withheld for now. Now with our new siblings, the four of us went on to begin forging the universe into what it is today. Expanding space, galaxies, nebulas of light and darkness, suns, planets, comets, and meteors. We gave these planets life in the form of vegetation, seas, air to breathe, etc. It was some of our most elegant works. Arceus said with pride. So, wait, Earthland is not the only planet with life? Natsu asked. The four primordials shook their heads in amusement. Oh no. There are plenty of worlds out there with life. Even ones where magic exists there as well, though not entirely the same as the one here. Does that mean dragons also exist in those worlds? Gray asked. The gods, Naruto and his wives, and the dragons all smirked in amusement. Maybe. Irene teased. After their audience finished their grumblings, the four continued the tale. After a while, we filled the worlds with beautiful ecosystems, though none of the worlds had true life on them except for plant and animal life. We were unsure of what to do next, and that's when Giratina came up with a brilliant idea. To create something within our image. This is when we created the first dragons. Arceus answered the inquiry that his audience was about to make. What were they like, you might ask? Well, we created dragons that were from our domains. I named my first son Phobos, the Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, Arceus said. My first child was known as Alduin, the devourer of the abyss and stars. You may call him, the World Eater. Giratina explained. A bipedal wyvern-like dragon covered in dark gray scales roared in triumph. The audience, minus those who have heard the tale before, looked on in shock as the dragon devoured dead planets like a strawberry dessert. I created my child to be of the very cosmos itself that could forge literal stars, Aurelian saw, Palkia said. Everyone watched in awe and fear as the particles formed a massive serpentine dragon whose eyes were like a distant star. In absolute amazement, they saw an entire galaxy form in the palm of its hand. My child would be named Cronus, but he would be known as the Chronicler, Dialga said. A familiar sea-green dragon with gray scales appeared to the audience. Naruto smirked as he knew he would be seeing the Chronicler soon. Though he does wonder what the Watcher of Time wishes to tell him. These four would be the first generation of Elder Dragons, Arceus explained. The four of us then came together to form 3 more dragons. These were meant to be our greatest creations. The pinnacle of their kind. The respective gods of their races. The particles of magic formed into 3 massive dragon silhouettes. The first shadow was shown on a planet that resembled a very primitive Earthland. This shadow began to lay hundreds if not thousands of eggs that would hatch into a baby dragon. One would work on giving birth to dragons on the planet that would later be known as Earthland. Giratina proposed to create a race that could rival the dragons. This led to the creation of the first kaiju. Finally, there was the final dragon we created. Our magnum opus. A creation we took the most time in and had the most pride for. The Black Alpha. The particles froze before turning completely black as they merged to resemble a massive shadow. One that even dwarfed Aurelian Sol. Its wings completely covered the very night sky and everything else in absolute darkness. Its fingertip could crush a galaxy created by the previous Elder Dragon. Its roar was something else. Not like a triumphant cry from Igneel and his comrades. Not like the monstrous cry from Naruto's dragon form or the horrifying screech from Ghidorah. It was like a loud drone that eclipsed any noise that could be uttered. Nothing but this fearsome bellow could be heard as their bodies vibrated from the roar itself. Everyone felt themselves fall to their knees. They knew this was an illusion, but they only felt defeat and despair as their eyes could barely look up at the existence that was crushing their very forms with its mere shadow. The only one that seems able to withstand the phantom is Naruto, though he was still pushed onto one knee. As the Dragon King looked up, he saw the existence that he feared, but also one he should technically be grateful for. After all, this creature created the Dragon King lineage and helped give Naruto his new identity when he became the Dragon King. Suddenly the shadow was gone as the particles crumbled and the pressure was gone. Everyone sighed with relief as they could breathe and move normally again. The gods apologized as they did not expect the shadow of their creation to affect them as much as they did. The group accepted the apology, though a warning would be appreciated next time. The gods agreed, but Naruto could tell there was something off. They could have easily prevented that illusion from affecting everyone as it did. Meaning they intentionally allowed the shadow to influence them. He had his suspicions why, but he would wait until later to get an answer. Though he could tell that many could feel something was off. Wendy, his wives, Laxus, and several others were looking at him. He gave them a gesture to tell them to wait for their questions, which they accepted. Arceus resumed his tale once more. Dialga and Palkia worked together to form the first generation of celestial spirits with their children and is giving them some ideas on what should be their responsibilities and domains. This led to our universe's creation to be complete now. Whoa! Everyone said in complete rapture. They were unsure what they would learn today. But now they could say they were a bit overwhelmed by all the information they were learning about not just their world, but the entire universe. It was utterly outstanding. What happened next? Carla asked curiously. We created realms that represented our domains to rest for some time. We believed we had achieved a utopia of prosperity and peace as our creations coexisted with one another. Giratina explained to the group. Arceus let out a tired sigh as he looked at his audience sorrowfully. Sadly, all good things must come to an end eventually. Everyone who did not know the story felt a chill go down their spine. What happened? Happy asked in a worried tone. The Black Alpha. The shadow whose presence caused you all to buckle. One of our three great creations chose to rebel against us. Everyone looked up in shock as the particles showed the massive shadow again with an army of smaller minions roaring together as they fought against the four primordials and their armies. An epic clash of dancing colors illuminated the entire vacuum of space as planets, stars, nebulas, and even galaxies were destroyed in this universal war. But why though? Urza asked the question on everyone's mind. Why would one of their creations rebel against them? They haven't been shown anything that would turn their creations against them. So why? The four gods shook their heads. We honestly don't know. We have never been able to understand. Greed for more power. Jealousy over our other creations. Perhaps believing we were playing favorites with our other creations and he saw himself and the dragons as the superior creations. Or a desire to destroy everything and everyone in the universe. Maybe it was a mix of all of them, or it was something else entirely. Arceus explained. The Alpha would take the lives of his two brethren and absorb their powers and make him even stronger. He would take this time to build an army of his creations and those that followed his belief and waged a war against us. Giratina continued. The war was fierce and devastating to the planet and the neighboring systems and galaxies, as you saw. Eventually, he was finally defeated by the combined efforts of the Alpha's two sons as the two completely obliterated his body, and we believed the same for his soul. Dialga followed up. Palkia continued. After the war, we worked on repairing all the damage done to Earthland and all the other planets affected by it. Once the world was revitalized, everyone gravitated to the younger brother and saw him as a paragon to the dragon race. Seeing this opportunity, we decided to make him the leader of the race with his brother guiding him. We took a portion of our power and fused it into a special item. Arceus explained as the particles showed the four gods take mana from their very souls and merge them. Particles of white, blue, pink, and black came together from the four as several million particles from the environment followed suit. A brilliant light illuminated the arena in a blinding flash. When the flash died down, a brilliant glowing stone could be seen being given to a bipedal black dragon. This stone soon became a familiar object everyone had seen once the dragon pushed the stone into its own body and was absorbed. The Orathan. Everyone muttered in what was only a whisper. Dialga nodded. Yes, this is how the younger brother would be selected as our chosen vassal for the rest of the dragon race. This was how Bahamut became the first Dragon King. And is still currently the strongest Dragon King, Giratina added cheekily. Naruto and the other gods rolled their eyes. So childish for a death god. What? Everyone who did not know this screamed. Are you serious? Natsu exclaimed. We are quite serious. They all replied in unison. But Naruto has to be close to him in power, right? He has to be like just below him or at least be close to him in power. Happy asked in a panic. After everything he saw Naruto do to them on Tenro Island and during the dragon invasion, the idea that Naruto could be weaker than any of the other dragon kings was a hard pill to swallow. Sure, he could see Bahamut being the strongest, but Naruto has to be close to his level of power. Right. Naruto shook his head. Unfortunately, I am ranked 4th in power compared to the other kings. Everyone's jaw dropped at that revelation. All that power and he was only considered the 4th strongest. You are tied for 3rd place after your recent bout with Ghidorah, Giratina told him. Naruto blinked at the revelation. Well, that's neat. It was nice to know he was moving up in the ranks, even if he did not care about such things. However, the increase in his power will help against Zerf and everything else going against him. Though he won't deny a part of him felt some pride that he was tied with Spyro for the 3rd strongest of the Dragon Kings. At least try to act surprised. Several exclaimed in shock. How are you only 3rd with how much power you have? Gajeel demanded as he pointed at him. After everything they saw him do, he was only considered tied for 3rd place. Naruto shook his head in response. I have an incredible amount of mana that I can attest to. With my wide range of abilities, I have numerous ways I could easily wipe out the entire population of Earthland or just blow the planet up with its moons if I wanted to. Back to the matter at hand, the ones above me can match all of my destructive capabilities and abilities plus go beyond them. They are power that's personified and their existence defies logic itself. Especially when discussing Bahamut the Stormbringer. He was an anomaly even amongst his dragons. Though considering who his father was. That is to be expected. Arceus took control of the conversation. As it stands, Naruto would be known as the youngest Dragon King over the second youngest, Spyro. There is also the fact that Naruto is the first human to become a dragon and take the throne. Which is unusual and we did not think was possible. And even if it was through force of combat, he defeated the Dragon King and thus he was deemed the new King of Dragons. The fact that the Orathan chose him as its new master is proof of this. Even if it was made as a part of our souls, the Orathan has a mind of its own and will decide who it sees as the Dragon King and who would be the successor. Though it has been known to take the thoughts and feelings of the current king into consideration. However, Naruto will be known for being part of the strongest lineage of Dragon Kings. Palkia chimed in. Naruto and the others looked confused. What do you mean? Anna asked. The 4 gods manipulated the particles to show a silhouette of Thorin. Then another silhouette formed into a shadow of Naruto which turned into his dragon form. Naruto is the first son of a Dragon King to succeed to the throne. This has never happened before. And if one of Naruto's children were to ascend to the throne, you would have the strongest dynasty ever created. The Marvell dynasty of Thorin, the progenitor, will be remembered as the strongest bloodline of dragons to be sired. Until the end of days, regardless of usurpation or even succession. Dialga explained. The Time Dragon and the other 3 then turned their attention to Naruto. Now then, speaking of Naruto, I believe it's time for us to discuss why we called you here today. Yeah, we have been wondering why you called us all here. Not that we minded as we love the history lesson. Ultir said. Giratina spoke up which gained the attention of their audience. You see, Naruto wanted something and we agreed to grant his request as long as he performed his duty as king. What exactly was his request? Laxus asked. He wished to bring the dragons he slaughtered back to life, Giratina replied. What? Everyone shouted. Wait, you can do that? Natsu asked. The 4 gods looked a little sheepish. Well, yes and no, they replied. Huh, was the reply of their audience. Palkia decided to clarify for his siblings. Let us explain this clearly. You must understand that resurrections are forbidden as we decreed it as an outcry against nature. Look what happened to Zerf. Those who break this law are cursed with the curse of contradiction. This law has been upheld since its degree. Even if we are not the ones that enforce this curse, it affects everyone in this reality. It's also why necromancy is a rare magical art and severely frowned upon, even if it's not a true resurrection. Wait, can't you manipulate souls? So, couldn't you revive anyone whose soul you have as you did for our parents? Sting asked. Naruto and the dragons shook their heads at the understandable confusion. No, the dragons inside you slayers weren't exactly dead, yet they were not alive either. They were in a bit of an in-between. And like I said, they were more reborn than truly resurrected. Naruto explained. So technically, you found a loophole? Lucy asked. Naruto shrugged. In a way, it can be seen as such. Plus, while yes, I can manipulate souls, the most you will ever see me do when I am not devouring a soul to gain more power is summon it to get some questions answered. You will never see me attempt a full-on resurrection. Life must eventually end. We are all born into this world, we live in it, we age in it, and we eventually die. That is the circle of life. Death is what gives life meaning because of our awareness that it will eventually end. It's why I have never tried reviving Hinata or my other lovers. Hinata lived a full life and died peacefully as she felt fulfilled. To try and resurrect her and my lovers would be an insult to them, their memory, and everything they stood for when they were alive. He sighed deeply as he furrowed his brows. No matter how much I want them to be alive and be here with us, they aren't. I have accepted it as that's how things are, he said softly. But if you can summon their souls or spirits, why did you never do it? Rogue asked. Naruto seemed to freeze before he relaxed and replied. Honestly, I was scared. Everyone looked more confused than surprised at the admission. Though the dragons, Anna, Irene, and Wendy seemed to have an idea as to why. Pa Naruto, scared of, what? Ultir asked as she ignored another slip. I feared that they would hate me for all the horrible things I had done in these nearly 5 centuries. Anna and Irene smack him over his head while Wendy gives him a gut punch. You know damn well they wouldn't. They shouted in unison. Naruto rubbed his head in slight irritation. He deserved that. I know that. But that doubt ate me every time I even considered summoning their spirits. No matter how long it's been, that doubt clouded me from ever trying. It wasn't until I met Hinata and then Wendy again that my doubts began to dissipate. So, if resurrections are forbidden, how do you plan to bring the dragons back? Gajeel asked. The process will be similar to what I did to your parents, Naruto answered. Wait, are you talking about the souls of the dragons you've absorbed throughout your life? Wendy asked. Her father nodded. That's right. Won't you lose all the abilities that you have collected? Natsu asked. It would suck if Naruto lost everything he had accumulated in his life. Even if he felt he might have a better chance of beating him without all of his busted abilities. Naruto shook his head. Nothing to worry about. I've had these souls for so long that the powers I have gained can never be taken away simply by taking the souls. Once I had the soul, the power was mine, but it was never the source, simply the means of obtaining the power or ability. Plus not all the souls remain in me all the time, the weakest eventually dissipate out of my body and return to the ether. Dragons do not die as humans do. Everything that we are passes into a new body. However, the stronger ones remain, but they cannot fight or resist me and are forced to remain dwelling in my body until I remove them. Can you talk to them? Happy asked in a curious tone. Wendy flinched as she had a similar question during her training trip, but her father did not really answer the question. She got the message and dropped her inquiry for the time. She expected a similar response, but what she received was not what she expected, and did not like it at all. Everyone was concerned when they saw the Dragon King flinch as he looked down and grabbed his knees. Naruto? Anna asked in genuine concern. She remembered during the war, how spooked Naruto was getting during the end of the war. He always was on edge and seemed to jump at every little sound. He even looked like he did not get a lot of sleep as he would have dark bags under his eyes. He would rarely sleep with her or Irene during those as he said he was afraid he would not let them rest despite their protest. She looked to see Irene just as worried. The only times Naruto seemed to be at peace were the times he spent with Wendy and the children and the very rare times he would allow himself to sleep in the same chamber as herself and Irene. Naruto looked at his audience. I would be able to talk to them under normal circumstances. During the war, when I absorbed the souls, I could on occasion hear their voices. But they were just whispers. A voice in the back of your head. It was negligible. Naruto's face then went grim as he shivered a bit. However, as the war continued, the more my bloodlust grew, the more souls I devoured, and the greater number of voices I began to hear that chipped at my sanity. He clutched his knees hard. Normally I could ignore them, but as my mind fell deeper into the pit, the harder the task became. The betrayal caused an unfixable crack to stay in my psyche. Afterward, I continuously heard them and was unable to lock them away. The voices were malicious as they tempted me to perform acts of depravity and destruction on my loved ones and everything around me, but I could always control them. But then when I heard Anna, the last visages of the walls in my head crumbled into the abyss of insanity and the voices all came pouring out. My rise as a dragon came also with the loss of my mind. He explained in a haunted tone that sent shivers down the mage's spines. In the aftermath of the war, I managed to put a temporary wall to keep the voices out. I attempted numerous times to speak with the souls, to come to an understanding so that I could have some peace if only briefly. However, the moment I tried I was bombarded by a massive ocean of unrelenting voices and emotions from all the souls I absorbed. It was all too much and I had to pull up the wall again. Though the walls sometimes faltered and the voices would seep out and the nightmares would come and continue my prolonged insanity. Everyone looked horrified at what they were hearing. None of them knew about this side effect of devouring too many souls. Which they all reasoned was why Sapphira never devoured souls regularly. It was to avoid the loss of her mental peace and sanity. Cobra shivered as someone who could hear the voices of nearly everyone around him. He could understand how overwhelming the sheer magnitude of the inner voices can be. It's why he focuses on one person at a time. He tried to hear the voices of an entire city before to find info on a mage he was hunting. He nearly died from his blood vessels nearly exploding from the sheer overload he experienced. Cobra swore to never attempt that again. Anna and Irene were in tears. Naruto had never told them any of this. They had their suspicions, but any time they tried to probe, Naruto would close himself off. Now they wished both had been more assertive in getting Naruto to open up more to them. Wendy sighed. She had her suspicions about what her father was dealing with. His restlessness during the training trip was evidence enough, but she could only get brief and short answers to her inquiry. He did admit to having nightmares that barely let him sleep on many occasions. He never discussed the main cause of the nightmares besides the guilt and PTSD from the war itself. Naruto dragged his hands over his face as he looked at his audience. Eventually, after many decades, I got enough of my sanity back to fix the wall into something far more durable than before. I then proceeded to the process of slowly getting all the souls individualized. However, while I did manage to do this for many of the souls, a majority had become too jumbled within my body as they were swallowed by the vast ocean of madness inside of me and thus lost what made them who they were. Now they are just an echo of voices that barely resemble the being they were while alive. Again the audience shivered at the description Naruto gave about the consequences of what happened to the souls he absorbed. Then if that's true, how will you be able to perform the rebirth? Gray asked. That is where we come in. The souls of the dragons will be cleansed with our help and the power of the Orathan. Arceus explained. There's no way it's that easy. A skeptical Laxus asked. Naruto shook his head. No. The souls reborn will be cleansed, but they will be truly reborn. They will not have their memories. It will be a true rebirth. All of them will become those same faces and even come to have the same names, but their personality will be completely different. He said as he clenched his fist, this is a penance for my sins. I will reign as king, but El will have to look at the faces of those I slaughtered. Are you sure? Anna asked. Naruto looked assured. Yes. My sins may have been forgiven by all of you, but I have yet to forgive myself. Possibly never. He looked at his audience. This action won't wipe my sins away, but it will be one of my many steps for my atonement to our pantheon and all of you. You don't have to. Urza began, but Naruto raised his hand. I appreciate it, but my soul tells me differently. It's not necessary, yes, but I want to do this. Fate only binds you if you let it. I will do what is necessary, not because it has been written. He said with conviction. Are you ready, Naruto? Arceus asked. Naruto took a deep breath. As ready as I ever will be. He then rose and walked up the altar until he reached the center of the room as the four gods surrounded him. Giratina was in front of him. Dialga was to his left and Palkia was to his right. Arceus appeared right above him. The blonde side as the Orathan floated in front of him. A massive sigil appeared below the five. It was a massive golden triangle with a silver circle that had 3 marks on each side. Above the silver circle was a crimson sigil with a pyramid symbol pulsating where Giratina stood. Dilga's sigil resembled its chest gem that glowed a deep blue and pulsed almost like a heartbeat. Palkia's sigil resembled its shoulder jewel that pulsated in a pink glow slowly. The symbol is one from the Sinnoh Ruins event from Pokémon HeartGold and SoulSilver. The 4 primordial dragons each closed their eyes as they lowered their heads while Naruto himself closed his own eyes and spread his arms while he tilted his head back. Silence permeated the air before the 5 dragons began to glow a variety of colors. Dialga glows a striking blue and silver aura of magic. Palkia glowed a deep crimson and white color. Giratina glowed with dark ebony mixed with blood crimson and magenta aura of power while Arceus glowed an all-powerful golden white mixed with black energy. As for Naruto, he glowed with a myriad of colors. Deep crimson, stunning yellow, pulsating orange, stunning azure, dazzling green, and an astonishing purple. As for the Orathan, it blazed like a sun of green around his neck before a pulse of magic echoed across all of Earthland with a crack of thunder that all life upon the world heard. Everyone watched in awe as emerald ether particles rose from the sigil and the Orathan itself. Silver particles also danced around the air itself. Naruto, Giratina, Dialga, Palkia, and Arceus all released their mana particles of blue, black-red, pink, white, and navy blue from their mana auras as they breathed slowly. The 4 then began to recite in unison in the ancient draconic language as the particles all began to dance and bounce around each other in a beautiful symphony of lights. It almost resembled a multicolored aurora. Suddenly massive dark pillars of blood-red miasma oozed out of every pore of Naruto's body. The group watched in awe as the dark mana seemed to come together to form a massive egg or ball of malevolence. They were a bit worried as they could see many dragon faces trying to rip out of the egg as they roared in anger and agony. The 5 began to chant even faster as the particles all began to swirl around the dark egg and even began to enter it. The chanting continued to get louder and faster as the 4 gods and kings' mana aura began to enter the egg as well. Soon the orb became a massive orb of multiple colors that began to fight each other for dominance as lightning was released out of the orb with a literal windstorm that began to whip the entire temple. The others got worried until a barrier erupted to protect them. They saw Naruto whip his suddenly sprouted tail at them. This cued them in that he was keeping them safe. The group smiled and silently cheered the 5 on. The positive feedback seemed to reinvigorate the group as their chants seemed to have reached a crescendo as they spoke one last line loudly in unison as a massive pillar of emerald light exploded out of the Orathan and went right into the orb. There was silence before a massive explosion of white light blinded everyone. For what seemed like an eternity everyone could hear nothing and see everything in white until everything began to die down. Everyone readjusted their eyes as they looked and were shocked at what they were seeing. The 4 gods and Naruto seemed to look fine, but it was the ball of malevolence that was completely different. Instead of a deep red and black or multicolored whirlpool, it was a beautiful shade of white with thousands of green orbs. However, their amazement grew as the lights died down to reveal eggs. Everyone immediately could tell what these eggs were. Dragon eggs. The 4 gods then looked proudly as their eyes glowed and the eggs disappeared in a flash of light. Arceus sighed as he and the other 4 looked back at the rest of his audience. They are now back, he stated, the thunder has spoken. Though it will take time for all of them to hatch. Fortunately, we have prepared a pocket dimension that will act as a sanctuary where they can develop and grow into maturity. Palkia told them. Won't they need some kind of guardian to watch over them? Lucy asked in worry while the others nodded in agreement. The gods waved their concern off. We have a solution to that. Naruto, I believe it's time for you to attempt the Dragon Call. The Dragon Call. Several of the Slayers asked in confusion. Naruto nodded, it's similar to what I did to awaken your parents. I will awaken the remaining dragons that are scattered all around Earthland. Hopefully, they will listen to the call, but it is ultimately up to them. Naruto explained. Can the crystal tell you where they are? Rogue asked. Naruto shook his head. No. But at the same time, they also won't know where I am. All they will have is a feeling of their instincts guiding them towards me, but it's not an exact location indicator. Plus they can choose to ignore it. It's not a binding command. He explained before he spread his arms widely, his eyes now glowing with emerald energy as he channeled the power of the Orathan and shouted boldly, confidently, and with all the presence that one would expect from the King of Dragons. Naruto refocused on the Orathan as his wings sprouted out of his back. The familiar blue tribal markings of his dragon form also appeared on his body. The markings soon began to pulse in power in unison with the Orathan's pulses. My brethren in slumber, the time has come for us to awaken to reunite our pantheon once more. He declared. The dragon slayers, both natural and artificial, all felt a calling in their souls from the power of the dragon slayer magic embedded into them. Now, come to me. Fulfill your oaths of loyalty. Heed me, my brethren, the call of your king commands you to obey. Let the thunder roar in your hearts once again. Naruto called as another crackle of thunder echoed across the planet. Suddenly a beam of emerald light exploded into the sky as a massive wave of energy exploded outward with the roar of a dragon and traveled across the entire night sky and into the grand horizon. Naruto swiped the sweat off his face, retracted his transformation into his body, and turned to nod at everyone. How many do you think will listen to the call? Irene asked. Naruto shrugged. It just depends on what dragon we are talking about, love. Though I doubt the Pentadrakes will care about the call. I will say at best 3 may listen to the call. But that is still a reach as they usually don't listen to the Dragon King. Hell, even with my father, they were only cordial at best. They can be unpredictable to whose side they are on. Pentadrakes? Lucy asked. Powerful dragons that are considered dragon kings in their own right but hold no true authority, as I do with the Orathan, he explained. Are they enemies? Gray asked. Yes, they hate my guts to varying degrees, Naruto confirmed. I can say maybe 1 or 2 could be diplomatic, maybe 3 depending on the latter's mood. Why did they hate you? Gajeel asked. All of them in the past have tried to kill me and they all miserably failed. I let them live on a whim. Well, with Ignea, I was simply doing Igneel a favor. Igneel looked sheepish while Natsu had a confused look on his face. Igneel, why was this a favor for him? Natsu asked. Well, he is the Fire Dragon King's biological son after all. Naruto smirked. I have a brother. Fuck yay, I'ma fight him. Natsu cheered. Natsu. Lucy and Happy exclaimed in shock. You can't just fight him on a whim. They cried as Igneel burst into laughter. That was something he could see happening. Sure I can. Natsu beamed. Urza shook her head and turned to Naruto. Getting back on track, can you tell us what they are like? She asked. One is a water dragon that is rather sadistic and cruel, but I believe he has mellowed out since the last beating I gave him, and he has learned a lesson in what it means to live as a human. I've heard he has a whole village worshipping him. The second is a moon dragon that I swear takes lunacy and obsession to a new level but can be reasoned with, hopefully if she's sober. I swear, she is a baby-obsessed dragon who only wants the world to be overrun by toddlers. Irene and Anna grumbled about a perverted bitch trying to get into their hubby's pants, which caused those who heard to blush, chuckle, giggle. The third is a wood dragon that I thought for sure I killed, but like a cockroach he survived and only grew physically to be larger than any mountain you have seen. The fourth is a gold dragon that I have no clue where they are and what they will do. One is definitely dead unless he found a way to return, which wouldn't surprise me. The last is your brother Ignea, a fire dragon that's obsessed with fighting me and proving their superiority to me and his father. So we may have to fight him? Natsu asked in excitement, much to everyone's amused exasperation. Naruto shrugged. It's not exactly a yes or a no, but he will want to challenge me now that I have regained a vast majority of my senses and power back to see how he stacks up against me. I recalled a rumor about a secret 7th member that was the true leader, but I could never confirm them to be true. Naruto explained. How strong are they? Meridi asked. The Pentadrakes are as strong as I was when I attacked Tenro. Though I was out of shape and not using my full power, so consider that when trying to measure their capabilities when we meet them. I still can't believe you called that out of shape, Ultir muttered. But you held back, which means that they are stronger than what you showed on Tenro, Jelil said. Will we be ready for them? Lucy asked nervously. Naruto nodded in confirmation. Yes. We will be ready. I will ensure it. He assured them. Now that the business is done, we would like to speak with Naruto alone. Arceus proclaimed. Everyone looked a bit nervous to leave without their ally, but Naruto waved their concerns away. Relax. I will be okay. Though reluctant, everyone eventually left. How are you feeling, Naruto? Giratina asked. Naruto took a deep breath before exhaling slowly. Better. I feel like a weight has been lifted off of me. Those souls had a much stronger hold over me than I considered. But this is just the first step. Dialga nodded. Indeed. You must also reclaim the missing relics of our pantheon. Naruto nodded in agreement. I may know the location of 2 relics, but I am still unsure about the rest. The 4 deities looked at one another in slight worry. Naruto gets on edge. Your anxiety tends to increase when you see the 4 primordials of your pantheon look concerned. That is usually the sign that something terrible has or will occur. There is one other issue, Naruto, Palkia said somewhat softly. Naruto furrowed his brow. What is it exactly? We recently learned that the traitor is still alive out there. Giratina finished. Everything was silent as Naruto's eyes went wide in shock before they narrowed in absolute hatred as a black and blue mana aura erupted out of him. The 4 gods saw Naruto's malevolent dragon form through his magical pressure. Where is he? He growled out each word. Giratina spoke gently to placate the enraged king. Unfortunately, he has found a way to cloak himself from our eyes. He has used his time in this world to great effect. All we have been able to confirm is that he is still alive after all this time. Palkia here managed to sense his mana for a brief instance before it quickly disappeared. The blonde king growled as the pressure oozed out of him. Calm yourself, Naruto. You will find him eventually and you'll make him suffer for his crimes. Arceus demanded. Naruto gritted his teeth as he took a large deep breath before he sighed as his aura dissipated. I will make sure he suffers for all that he has done, for those he has betrayed, slaughtered, and forsaken. I swear on my name, and to the dragons I couldn't save. He swore in a resolute tone. Naruto. We are aware of your conversation with Zerf. Dialga said. I know what he said. Do you? Naruto began before the 4 nodded somberly. Yes, he was being completely honest. So, our enemy is, the blah. Naruto could not finish his words as he shivered. It's okay, Naruto. There's no shame in being afraid. After all, he was meant to be one of the 3 perfect dragons we created and is the father of the first king. And you two do hold a special connection. After all, he is practically your namesake. Arceus gently explained. And his eldest son will be coming after me due to my connection to Bahamut. While he finds this all as a game, Naruto replied in a dejected tone. They will be crucibles for you, Naruto, but we have faith you will rise to the challenge and prevail against the odds, Giratina concluded. Why do you all have faith that I can prevail against those who have come before me? Especially knowing who they are and what they are capable of. How can you be sure that I will succeed where others have failed you? Naruto asked. Because we see potential in you, Naruto. Just like we did all those years ago. While your rising to the throne was not under normal circumstances, the trials you have faced and will come to face in these coming times will show your true worth as king. Palkia explained. The Orathan still sees you worthy as king, but as it stands, you have not yet made a complete connection with it. Use these coming trials to show your worth to the Orathan and complete the connection. The eye knows what it's doing and why it is burdening you in such a manner. Dialga said. Believe in yourself, as we of the thunder, believe in you. Arceus said, raising his head proudly, let the thunder roar in your heart. The 4 primordial dragons roared, the echo of creation shaking from their declaration. Naruto looked at them with a determined glare. I swear I will show my worth. Not only to all of you but to the Orathan and the spirits of the previous kings that reside within it. I will fully merge with the crystal. I will need all the power to triumph against the upcoming threats. Naruto said before both Dialga and Palkia coughed and shuddered unpleasantly. Having seen Dialga and Palkia shivering and sweat was coming to their faces and they breathed labored hoarsely. He looked at the gods of time and space in concern. Are you two all right? You both look rather ill. It's fine. The eclipse gate has simply caused a minor imbalance in the celestial spirit world, it's affecting our realms. Dialga explained. Will all of you be all right? Oh, Don't worry about us. We'll be fine, Palkia assured him. Then I will take my leave. Naruto was about to turn and leave, but Arceus stopped him. Oh Naruto, one last thing. We had some interesting visitors. Two old men that wanted to speak with you. Arceus explained. No. Naruto quickly denied the upcoming request. The gods chuckled a bit. Come now, Naruto. You don't have to be rude. Giratina lectured. Naruto glared at the dark serpent. I don't care. I nearly had a seizure just from speaking with them as they showed me a peek into the multiverse. I do not need to see any more from that crazy immortal vampire and that time-traveling top-hat-wearing lunatic. He said, waving his arms about trying to explain his reason for denying them. The four gods could not hold it in and began laughing. Naruto glared at the four. I wouldn't laugh if I were you. He told them, as I recall, there was this one world where the four of you were captured by spherical devices by some 10-year-old kid and a lightning rat. All jovialness left the four as they glared at the Dragon King. You swore you would never speak of that. All four roared at him in unison. Naruto smirked. Not so fun, right, huh? The two groups glared at one another before they all began to chuckle in unison. Naruto turned and began walking out. Well, I will be going. Take care Naruto and be careful, Giratina warned one last time. Naruto waved goodbye. He stopped to look at Dialga and Palkia. You two should rest. The strain of your realms has been taxing on you both. We can't afford to lose you two. The chaos that would erupt would be immeasurable. The two nodded in assurance. We shall keep in contact, Palkia replied. The thunder has spoken. Arceus bellowed one last time, fare thee well, O Dragon King of the Apocalypse. He declared as the four gods disappeared in majestic flashes of light. Naruto breathed out as he turned and walked out of the temple. As he left the area, his family and comrades were waiting for him. Come now, we have some training to do, he said in a resolute tone. Meanwhile in the celestial spirit world. No. The seal can't be broken. Not now. The celestial spirit king cried in horror as he watched his throne crumble as a massive pillar of dark and violet mana erupted into the eternal night sky of the stellar world that went on for eternity. Dark clouds erupted from the pillar and began to cover the night sky. Lightning and flames began to fall from the black heavens and enveloped the world in chaos. The celestial king looked around as he saw his world become one of the 9 circles of hell in seconds. Suddenly a dark and melodious voice began to speak. Oh, it can be. And it has. At long last I am free. A massive titan that was equal in height to the king. His body was dark violet armored skin. He had a dark gray combat skirt around his waist and a gray helmet with horns and a violet faceplate. There was no indication of any sentience in the Goliath except for the blood-red eyes peering at the king. Hello, brother. The titan spoke in a dark amused tone. Lenankaras, what do you want? The king asked wearily. The now named Lenankaras chuckled. No welcome to your eldest sibling, Endymion. I am quite hurt, he said jovially before in a swift motion he grabbed the king by his throat and glared hotly at his brother. As to what I want. I am taking back what's rightfully mine.